Ann Coulter on with us. Ann Coulter, the best-selling author. She's with us every Monday at this time. And before we get to the quote unquote partial government shutdown, I want to ask you about this New York Times story that the FBI opened an investigation. Now they keep changing the timeline on it. Now the FBI opened the investigation not in July or October or September of 2016 or April of 2016. It was opened in May of 2017 after he fired James Comey for not saying that he was not a subject of the investigation. So now all the people who've been fired themselves are under investigation for lying to federal agents have said that Trump was under investigation, even though they said he wasn't under investigation and refused to tell people that. I mean, this is ridiculous.
What I think is the most shocking about this story, if this were anyone other than Trump, you have a president of the United States firing the head of this domestic police force, and the domestic police force turns around and starts an investigation into the president. I mean, this is the sort of thing liberals imagined J. Edgar Hoover was doing. He was not. Are we living under this paramilitary force from Washington? It's quite a shocking statement about what the FBI is doing. And it's only because our media is insane and liars, and are blanketing the airwaves. I mean, no matter what happens, somebody could stick a pie in Trump's face and it would be, oh, Trump, what a dork, as opposed to, oh my gosh, what kind of douche would stick a pie in the president of the United States? It doesn't matter what is done to him. It's always his fault.
Didn't they need a paragraph in the story, Ann, saying the investigation was begun under Andrew McCabe, whose wife accepted $700,000 from Hillary Clinton, who sponsored the investigation that led to these spurious charges, and who himself is now the target of a grand jury investigation for, according to the Justice Department Inspector General, lying 4 times to federal agents, felonies all, on the day he was appointed acting director of the FBI. There, I just wrote the paragraph. Why wasn't that paragraph in there?
I think that would be a very informative paragraph, Howie. But I do think it is even apart from that, and yes, that paragraph should have been in there. The head of the FBI is fired. He has surrounded himself with his people. He gets fired, and that same organization starts an investigation into the president who fired him. If this were J. Edgar Hoover starting an investigation, his FBI starting an investigation into, the beloved JFK, if JFK had fired J. Edgar Hoover, as opposed to giving him marching orders, such as to tape Martin Luther King's sex romps in hotels, but we'll put a pin in that and move on. If JFK had fired J. Edgar Hoover, and then the FBI turned around and investigated JFK, well, okay, then what's the reaction? Is it, oh my gosh, JFK, what a horrible person? No, it's what kind of FBI do we have here?
I agree. And again, Comey was one of the reasons he was fired is Trump said, you told me 3 times privately that I'm not a target. Can't you say that publicly? And Comey says, we never comment on cases. Then Comey gets fired, his replacement gets fired and is probably going to prison. The 2 lovebirds get fired, Baker and Priestep get fired, and then they go and they leak a story saying that we had to start an investigation because he fired our guy for following the rules, but they're breaking the rules themselves by doing that.
Yes, I write about this in Trump We Trust because most people forget why we even have the special counsel, Robert Mueller. And I have, a few select quotes from, look, it's one thing to say we don't comment on an investigation when no one knows there's an investigation. But when you're talking about the President of the United States trying to run the country and the media is full of stories about how he's under criminal investigation by the FBI, no, I'm sorry, that's a different circumstance. It's a different circumstance if you're just, a regular guy living in town and the police chief, everybody's saying, oh, you're under investigation for murdering your neighbor. At some point, no, there's an you don't talk about an investigation when nobody knows about it. But when that's all the media is. And to the contrary, what Comey did was very, very leadingly answer questions twice before congressional committees when he was asked, is the President of the United States under investigation? I mean, he did it in such an insinuating way to suggest, not to dampen speculation, but to send it off in 18 million other directions. So that was utterly disingenuous. So then Trump fires Comey. It was a stupid idea, and oh, that's right, it was Jared Kushner's idea. Don't worry, the Democrats will love it. He fires Comey, and all of the press, which again I quote from in Resistance is Futile, that night everyone said Trump is under investigation, he fires the investigator. That's why we need a special counsel. Trump is under criminal investigation. Right. He fires the investigator. This is Watergate. Oh, that's why Mueller was appointed. Now, if Trump was under investigation before he fired Comey, then Comey perjured himself, because a few months later, Comey gets called. Now he's fired, Jim Comey. He's the former FBI director. He testifies before Congress, and he says, no, the president was not under investigation. He finally admits the truth, but it's too late now because Mueller's already been appointed.
Right.
Just one other thing I want to say about that. When it was stupid and Bannon advised against firing Comey, but Jared, with his vast experience in Washington and, the push and pull of politics, was sure that it was going to be fantastic for Trump if he fired James Comey. So who would you listen to? Your son-in-law, who has no experience in politics whatsoever, or people who
shouldn't he have gotten rid of him
their entire lives?
Shouldn't he have gotten rid of him the first day?
Still,
I mean, that's what Hillary would have gotten rid of. Hillary would have gotten rid of him the first day. How about the
Yes, but he didn't. Shouldn't he have built the wall in the last few years? Hang on, Howie. I'm getting to an important point. Jared tells him to fire Comey because the Democrats will love it. Now, this is the funny thing. That night on Stephen Colbert says, Trump has fired James Comey, and the audience cheers.
Yeah.
Cheers. Stephen Colbert has to tell them, no, that's not the official position we're taking.
Right. Pravda has a new front page for the second edition. Yeah, we've changed our policy. But then, how about this one?
They cheered. We ought to find that clip and put it on the House.
How about this one? Listen to this one. This is from the New York Times story. Mr. Trump had caught the attention of FBI counterintelligence agents when he called on Russia during a campaign news conference in July 2016 to hack into the emails of his opponent, Hillary Clinton. Let's hear the actual sound cut to see the context of how he said it.
But it would be interesting to see. I will tell you this. Russia, if you're listening, I hope you're able to find the 30,000 emails that are missing. I think you will probably be rewarded mightily by our press. Let's see if that happens. That'll be next. Yes, sir.
Boy, that was a real demand, wasn't it, for the Russians?
Well, I also write about this in Trump We Trust, and what's confusing about this, the media does this frequently. It's a fallacy of composition. The thing with Hillary is she is so corrupt and scandal-ridden. She had two separate email scandals. People always forget this. They're two completely different email scandals. So one is that she kept private emails on her server that were the property of the taxpayers, property of the United States citizens.
Right.
She kept them on her private server and then destroyed them. Okay, separate email scandal was that the DNC servers were so unsecure that somebody, we don't know who, the media screams that it was Russia, but we actually do not know, and it seems somewhat unlikely to me. And anyway, somebody takes emails from the DNC and from John Podesta and posts them on WikiLeaks. These are two totally different email scandals. Which one was Trump talking about? It's perfectly clear he was talking about the ones on Hillary's computer, which Jim Comey had repeatedly said. They've had the FBI, all of their cybersecurity experts, going through the private server. They were unrecoverable. They were gone. There were no emails to hack. He was not talking about the hacking of the DNC emails because there were 30,000 of those and 20,000 on Hillary's server, plus which he never used the word hack. He said find. He was talking about the emails that James Comey and the FBI was looking for at that point. It was not requesting hacking, and the fact that the media always says, please hack the emails instead of find, proves they know the truth.
I know. The whole story is, you know, the people who wrote the story knew that they were leaving out most of the salient facts of the story. I want to ask you about one more story here in the New York Times, Ann. Did you see the story about the former Nazi guard who died this weekend?
No, I did not.
Jawik Palach, former Nazi guard deported after decades in the U.S., dies at age 95, okay? So he came to the United States in 1949, right? And he stayed in the country, I just counted it up, through 11 presidents, from Truman through Obama. Nobody ever did anything to get this guy out of the country. There are 18 paragraphs in the story. Would you care to guess where they mentioned that Donald Trump was the guy who threw him out of the country? That was the 12th president who threw him out of the country? The 17th paragraph of 18.
I must say, I think it's kind of a waste of Trump's energy. Could he have used that energy to sign the executive order on anchor babies? Where is that?
I know, but I don't think he spent a lot of time on it. But the Trump administration made his deportation a priority.
A 95-year-old Nazi is no threat to any man, woman, or child in America. Having a wide open border is a threat to tens of thousands of Americans
I absolutely agree, Ann, but I'm just saying the New York Times won't give him credit for anything.
Stupid symbolic crap. I hate the stupid symbolic crap when Americans are dying and working class wages have been stagnant for 30 years. Could he just concentrate on his campaign promise?
Well, at least he's not going to the Caribbean for a cruise like the House Democrats.
That was really something. Boy, that really is the clearest evidence of whose side the media is on. No Republican could even contemplate doing something like that, doing a shutdown, because if for no other reason, I mean, forget having any sense of principles, but if for no other reason, we can't get away with that. We can't go on vacation in the middle of a shutdown. No, Democrats, they're free, and but for the Drudge Report, we wouldn't know about it.
If Trump had gone outside, if Trump had gone outside yesterday during the snowstorm in Washington and made a snowball and just thrown it at a camera for a laugh, I mean, they would have said Trump is playing while 800,000 Americans go hungry, right? That's what they would have said.
Yes. You know, all those federal workers who make more than the average American and have gold-plated health benefits, self-paced jobs, unbelievable pensions, and sick days and holidays through the roof. Yes, I'm really worried about them starving.
And it's day 24, and those day 24, as I mentioned earlier, that includes Christmas Eve, Christmas, New Year's Eve, New Year's, and all the weekends. But it's day 24 of the shutdown.
Well, it's all kind of, I mean, in a way, I wish there were more departments that were shut down. It's only all the important stuff, the Social Security checks, the Medicare checks, all of that's going out. Food stamps are going out. Nobody's going to be starving. Okay, the Yosemite gift shop is closed down. Meanwhile, tens of thousands of Americans will be killed by illegal aliens this year. What's more, I guess that's more important to me. Maybe to some people it's more important to keep the Yosemite gift shop open. It's only about 800,000 federal employees out of, 4 million, something like that. It's a very small percentage. And half of the shutdown agencies, the employees have to work because they're essential employees. Whether they're working or not working, it is 100% guaranteed they will eventually get paid.
Right.
It's just a slight delay in getting their check. So, I mean, if anything, the sob stories aren't heartrending enough to put any pressure on the Democrats.
Yeah, a lot of the sob stories are as believable as the New York Times on Russian collusion, but I think they're a little more truthful than those. A little more truthful because there's a little bit. Anyway, Ann, thank you for being with us. We appreciate it. The title of your new book is "Resistance is Futile." Talk to you next week, Ann. I'm Howie Carr.